And now for your Bethune-Cookman University Wildcats. Batting first, third baseman number 5, Luis Duel. Batting second, center fielder number 34, Darren Chung. Batting third, right fielder number 4, Ivan Hall. Batting fourth, left fielder number 25, Boris Pinga. Batting fifth, designated hitter, number 31, Robert Boyd. Batting sixth, first baseman number 16, Manny Sulprey. Batting seventh, catcher number 22, Irvin Escobar. Batting eighth, second baseman number 2, Colton Olesen. Batting ninth, shortstop number 25, Jeremy Garcia. Starting pitcher for the Wildcats, number 18, Nolan Santos. The Wildcats is head coached by Johnny Hernandez. May you all please rise if able for the Lincoln of our national anthem.
Well, live from Jackie Robinson Ballpark in beautiful downtown Daytona Beach, Florida, it's time for the final regular season series of the 2023 Bethune-Cookman baseball season, as the Wildcats, still in with a chance to grab that number 2 overall seed in the Eastern Conference, take on the Jackson State Tigers. Hello and a very warm welcome. Happy to have your company. My name is Michael Torello. Bryce Winoski along for the ride with me tonight and all series long. Bryce, it's a long road, but we're finally here. Last series of the season, still a lot to play for before conference tournament time next week.
Yeah, Mike, you know as well as I do, college baseball, any level of baseball, it's all about the grind. It's all about that war of attrition, seeing who's left standing towards the end of it through all the nicks and bruises and everything else. But at the same time, it kind of flies by. We saw the team go on that grueling road trip last month, and all of a sudden they're back, 2 series, and we're out. But you know, Mike, the Wildcats this time around, it's a much different game 1 than we saw last week, in that the Wildcats are coming off some big-time momentum rather than maybe being on the opposite side of some series. You know, they come in after taking 2 of 3 from FAMU last weekend and really in control of that number 2 seed. And you know as well as I do, we can't take our foot off the gas here. This is a series you have to close out. You have to do your job, with that 2 seed being critical heading into the SWAC tournament next week.
We will talk about it a lot over the course of this series, but we took 2 of 3 from FAMU last week. Really should have been a sweep. The Wildcats saw the Rattlers come back against them to swipe Game 3 in extra innings on Sunday. Then the midweek contest against UCF, a game that the Wildcats did end up falling 11-7. That game was pretty close for a lot of it. The Wildcats' offense really showed up. The pitching, as is usual for midweek games, was kind of the weakness there for the Wildcats. Pitching, no weakness today, though. We got Nolan Santos on the mound, on the cusp of breaking the regular season strikeout record for Bethune-Cookman University, his own, that he set last year at 113.
Nolan Santos is a special guy. I mean, this is a guy that, obviously, based on the record we're about to see broken here, that this program has never seen, that the SWAC continues to have issues adjusting to week. He's gone out and been dominant every single time through. That's what you need from a Friday night starter. That's what they've gotten. It's been a hell of a ride to watch him this season.
I think he is the main reason the Wildcats have only been swept once this entire year in conference, and that was the series at Alabama State, because we've won Friday night games pretty much on the regular because Santos is putting in those innings, and even on nights where the offense doesn't show up as much, maybe they only need 5 or 6 runs to get the job done.
Not to mention, Mike, you look at those leaderboards across college baseball, currently checking in at number 2 in strikeouts in the entire nation. That's with a lot less innings pitched than some of these guys. He has been stellar.
Jackson State sends Jatavius Melton to the plate to lead the ball game off. He's the center fielder. He's a right-hander batting .326 in 172 at-bats. He's got 68 runs on 56 hits with 4 homers and 37 RBIs. Santos winds and fires righty to righty, and this one is chopped toward the third base side. Tough play for Tuero over there at third, but he does make the play, and there's one away.
Santos, too, and we'll gush about him all night long, is just he plays with a fire that clearly has the back of his fellow Wildcats. They all get up for him when he's on the mound, and he just makes it look so easy out there.
Here's Daniel Bannon. Bannon, a junior, batting .374. That's second on the team. 187 at-bats, 46 runs on 70 hits. No homers, 31 RBIs. But he does have a tied for second on the team 13 doubles with Jatavius Melton. Strike down and away, count 0-2. Little bit of a changed lineup tonight for BCU to what we've been used to seeing as that pitch goes inside. And the count 1-2. Tuero at third, back after a bit of an extended issue with some injuries. And we've got Boris Pena out in left field. There's a pitch that crosses the strike zone for strike 3. And there it is. Nolan Santos, with his 114th of the season, breaks the Bethune-Cookman strikeout record.
And he's got plenty more to go to add to that lead. I don't think we'll be seeing it go anywhere anytime soon. What more can you say about the guy? Just absolutely filthy. He's got 8 double-digit strikeout performances this year. That's gone a long way into him notching 114 on this season. That is a massive number.
Here is the danger man for Jackson State, Ty Hill. A .401 batting average for Hill, and he fouls the first pitch back to the screen, and it's 0-1. Hill, .401 in 162 at-bats, 47 runs, 65 hits, with 16 doubles, 6 homers, and 53 RBIs. All those numbers team highs. Breaking ball misses upstairs, 1-1. Ty Hill is a finalist for the Ferris Trophy, given to the top college baseball player in the state of Mississippi. He's 4th in the SWAC and 30th in the nation in batting average at a .401, but he swings and misses to a fastball, and it's 1-2. This is a guy in Hill that will be on those all-SWAC teams when they come out in a couple weeks. Pitches inside, and it's 3-1.
Yeah, voting for those all-SWAC awards will take place towards the end of this week. Those will be announced Tuesday night.
Correction count is 2-2, and that one catches Ty Hill on the arm, so he's hit by a pitch. And we have the first base runner of the evening for Jackson State. You can tell that they've done their scouting report because all the pitches to Hill were up and in.
And, you know, with Nolan Santos, I think it's interesting that no matter how we've seen him this year, with a lead, without a lead, letting up runs early, holding it late, he's been the same guy throughout the season. He just gets up and he throws.
Here's Brett Mersman, takes a fastball outside. He's a left-hand hitter. First one they've sent to the plate tonight have Jackson State. Batting .311 in 132 at-bats. 25 runs on 41 hits, 2 homers, and 33 RBIs. 1-0 from Santos. Tipped into the glove of Irvin Escobar behind the plate. It's 1-1. Also, we are seeing Escobar behind the plate today instead of Brasaris. Kind of adding to the number of changes defensively for the Wildcats. Big cut and miss from Mersman, count 1-2. So no, we're also seeing Manny Sufrain at first. No Robert Moya in the field today. He's designated hitter. And we've been musing this season, Bryce, about how Robert Moya is a better hitter when he's DH or when he plays first base, and the numbers to back that up. Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss. Strike 3, and down goes Mersman. No runs, no hits, none left. Or, excuse me, no errors, 1 left on. And we go to the bottom of the first. Jackson State, nothing. Wildcats coming about right here on the Cat Eye Network. To the bottom of the first we go. BCU getting their first look at Christian Womble, the starter on this Friday night for Jackson State. 8-1, which is the best record on the team. 5 ERA, 12 starts in 13 appearances, 1 complete game. In 72 innings pitched, he's allowed 71 hits, 48 runs, 40 earned, striking out 76 and walking 47. Batters are hitting .265. Against Womble, and the lefty deals inside for a strike on Luis Tuero, making his first appearance at the Jack in quite some time.
And, you know, Mike, for all the bumps and bruises we've seen this season, these Wildcats are relatively healthy entering this last weekend of play.
Really where you want to be. Tuero is still second on the team in batting average at .349. He's only played 40 games as opposed to the 47, 48, 49 that some of these other players have. On the count 1-2. This one hit in the air out towards right. And it's going to drop in front of Saavedra, who couldn't catch up to it. And it's a base hit for Luis Tuero, and the Wildcats have a runner on.
This is going to be a really important series offensively for the Wildcats, Mike. It's an element of the game that this team, frankly, didn't have, not nearly to the extent they have this year, a season ago. So when you head into the tournament, you know, the Wildcats last weekend, 13 runs, 11 runs. They scored 7 on Tuesday night. It's a different club, and they need to see that same level of success this weekend and keep that momentum going into the tournament.
Especially on offense. Here's Garrett Chun. Chun batting .302 and 172 at-bats. 42 runs on 52 hits. No homers, 16 RBIs. And the 1-0 inside for a strike in the count. 1-1. Our umpires tonight, Lance Barnes behind the plate. Darryl Cooper is at first base and Kalen Hamilton at third. And Womble deals. Misses outside to the lefty, and it's 2-1. We were talking pregame about how good offensively this Wildcats team has been comparatively to last season. And especially at home. They were 12-13 at home last year. Of course, that series, that home season, split between the Jack and Bethune-Point, so they never really had a permanent home base. This year, 20-8 at the Jack. The count 2-2 on Shun. With Tuera on first and nobody down here, bottom of the first. The big righty Womble from the stretch deals outside 3-2.
You talk about that record, Mike. Baseball is one of those games that if you can just tread water on the road and take care of business at home, you've got a big-time winning record. Wildcats have done that this year.
It's already a better season overall for Bethune-Cookman. This time, ball 4 outside, and Shun is on with a base on ball, so the first 2 Wildcats have reached base. And it is set up for Highland Hall. Last year, Bethune-Cookman had 27 wins overall. This year, they've got 27 wins with still 3 games to go. And you think it's a pretty good chance they will surpass their win total from last year.
Look at some of those offensive stats here as we've compiled some things for postseason SWAC awards. The pretty drastic change from a season ago at the plate.
First and second, nobody out. Here's Highland Hall. He hits one high in the air just past the infield to center. Gomez, the shortstop, moves over, makes the catch, and there's one away.
These Wildcats have improved from last season. Their batting average as a team by 51 points. Their OPS by 121 points. In 2023, we have 55 more runs, 37 more hits, 14 more doubles, 2 more triples, 3 more homers, 61 more RBI, 64 more total bases, and 161 fewer strikeouts than the team did last year. That's a big-time improvement.
Here's Boris Pena. Hall was up and down so fast I didn't really get to give you his numbers. He's the best hitter on the team, Highland, by average, but 1 pitch and done.
Between Hall and, of course, Robert Moya and guys like Tuero in the leadoff spot, there are some guys who have changed the complexion of this lineup from the 2022 iteration.
Here's the 0-1 to Pena, upstairs ball 1. Boris is a guy whose offense has dipped a little bit at the plate towards the back half of this season. He's batting .293. 32 runs on 48 hits, 4 homers, 35 RBIs.
Guy who's been a bit banged up, but as we've seen him kind of bounce all over the diamond a little bit this year, no doubt that was coming. Good to see him get a little bit of a break the last weekend.
Trying to put one in the outfield and maybe score a run here. There's a ball just missed off the plate inside corner with the fastball, 2-1. Luis Tuero leads off at second after a base hit to open up the inning to right center. Garrett Shun stands on first after a walk. There's a strike down the middle, 2-2.
Of course, the Wildcats last season only had a single member on the SWAC Awards. That was their closer, Brenton Fisher. To change that this coming week.
Base hit up the middle for Boris Pena. Rounding third's going to be Luis Tuero. Here's the throw to the plate. It's cut off by the pitcher. And the Wildcats have the lead. It's 1-0.
That's exactly how you start a series at the plate, Mike, especially one where, you got FAMU on the road. They've got Alabama State. So it's going to be a tough weekend for them. The Wildcats getting on the board early, giving Nolan Santos, with probably riding a little momentum from the record-setting strikeout last inning. But now we settle it down, play the game, give some run support, and take this one home.
And early runs were hard to come by for Bethune-Cookman early in the season. They've kind of cleaned that up in the last couple of weeks, specifically against Alabama A&M. Jumped out to some huge leads early 2 weeks ago. And then, of course, Florida A&M as well, over 10 runs in 2 games. Big cut and miss for Robert Moya in the count 1-1. Moya is a .322 hitter, 75 runs on 57 hits, 7 homers to lead the team, 42 RBIs. Looking for another one here with runners on first and second and 1 man down. Check swing. Did he go? Yes, he did. And the count 1-2.
Of course, this Wildcats team still has plenty to clean up offensively, specifically runners left on base. It's kind of continued to haunt them. We saw it haunt them in that series finale against FAMU last Sunday. Can't leave runs on the board.
Here's Womble's 1-2, bounce to the plate, and gets behind the catcher Louise, and thankfully for him, didn't go very far, didn't even leave the dirt circle around home plate. As we've mentioned all year, if a ball gets to the backstop here, there's no way you're getting to the ball in time to throw anybody out. It's a mile to the backstop.
We've seen it eat plenty catchers alive this season.
But the runners hold on first and second. Count 2-2 to Moya. And the pitch. Looked pretty good, but it's ball 3 on the outside corner. Womble mostly sticking with the fastball. I don't think we've seen much off-speed from him yet. Count runs full on Robert Moya. Womble comes set and deals. And Moya hits this one the opposite way out towards right field and deep. Back to the wall. It's off the wall. Rounding third and coming home is Garrett Chun. Pena's going to hold it third. It's a ribby double for Robert Moya, the opposite way that missed a home run by about half a foot.
Robert Moya is another guy who's just been a revelation for this Wildcats team. He's a guy that this team did not have a guy like Robert Moya last year. And as much as we love to say that defense and pitching is the kind of thing that wins championships, even as we saw in the SWAC softball tournament last year, you've got to have guys that can drive in runs. You have to score. And Robert Moya is a guy who does that for you. That's a power bat that can break a game open at any time he's up to the plate.
And already we are seeing a visit to the mound by head coach Omar Johnson. Johnson's been with Jackson State since 2007 and has had a winning record every season. As Jackson State on a little bit down year this year, but one of the perennial power programs in the SWAC on the diamond. We were just talking to their media person before the game. They were telling a story about a year where they went undefeated and lost in the SWAC championship game to a team that was under 500, and, well, sometimes that's how baseball goes.
Yep, I'm sure we'll see some fun outcomes like that next week. It's never seems like baseball likes to go according to plan.
Yeah, and we can officially announce the Cat Eye Network will be in Atlanta for the SWAC tournament. You can listen to all the Bethune-Cookman University action whenever the Wildcats take the field on the Cat Eye Network, audio only, and also if you're local driving around the Daytona Beach area, you can turn into 1380 WELE. They'll have all the games for you there, as well as Manny Safrain steps into the box. A rare start for Safrain today.
Safrain has been outstanding. He had 7 RBI last weekend, coming on strong at the perfect time of the year to do it.
Somebody who's trying to play his way into the starting roster for the tournament. And he rockets this one up the middle. There's a base hit, and it could be 2 runs. Scoring easily is Pena. Moya on his horse rounding third. He will score. It's a 2 RBI single for Manny Safrain, and it's 4-0 Wildcats in the first.
First pitch swinging there for Safrain. We've seen the Wildcats have success being patient at the plate. We've seen some long at-bats early here. We've seen Safrain there succeeding right away. This is what we talk about coming into this game, Mike. If the Wildcats can sustain this level of offensive production throughout the whole weekend, it's hard to feel better about your chances going into the tournament next week.
Here's Irvin Escobar. Missed a game-winning home run against FIU a couple weeks ago to dead center by about 4 feet. And maybe one of the biggest what-ifs of this baseball season for BCU. What if they had come back from 7-0 down to win that game?
Maybe the most fun we've had at the Jack this series.
But this is looking a lot like the start of the Sunday game against Alabama A&M 2 weeks ago, where the Wildcats jumped all over the Bulldogs in the first. They scored 8 runs, and, of course, Bulldogs came back and made a game of it, credit to them.
And it's important to stay on the horse for the entire 9 innings here. If you're Nolan Santos, don't get too geeked up about the record and the runs. Just do your job. But Santos is a guy who will likely do that.
Currently 4-0. Escobar pops this one up on a 2-1 count in the infield. The second baseman, White, makes the catch, and that's 2 Wildcat outs on 2 very soft pop-outs.
That's a stark contrast from the really hard contact we've seen from just about everybody in this inning early.
And here's Colton Olison. He's a guy that's been moved around the lineup a little bit in the back end of the season. We've seen him hitting 1st, 9th, 7th, and now 8th for the first time this season. Olesen takes a ball and a fastball inside 1-0.
Credit to Olesen, enjoying the best offensive season he's had here as a Wildcat.
Batting .317, 17 runs on 33 hits, 1 homer, and 18 RBIs. He chops this one towards third, and it will go foul. And the count 1-1. The 1 home run, though, was an absolute tank to right center. That was the middle game against Alabama A&M.
You know, it's kind of a shame that Olesen got dinged up at Florida in a midweek contest earlier this season. I really would have liked to see what a full season at this kind of offensive level would have been like for him. But credit to him, he's come right back from that and capitalized and been the same guy at the plate we saw early.
And you could contribute a fair amount of the downturn that the Wildcats have had on the road as that pitch is a strike, count 1-2. To some of the injuries that were sustained right before that road trip and during that road trip. Olesen, a big one. For his offense, yes, but mostly for his defense at second base. Breaking ball, strike 3 called, caught the outside of the plate, but for the Wildcats, 4 runs, 5 hits, no errors, 1 left. We go to the second inning of play. Wildcats out front, 4-0, right here on the Cat Eye Network. To the second inning we go. Miles White, the second baseman, leads off for Jackson State. Wildcats have a 4-0 lead, courtesy of 3 RBI in the first inning for the Wildcats. Nolan Santos back on the hill, and the right-hander deals a strike on the outside corner to White. White, a .321 hitter, 33 runs on 42 hits, no homers, 20 RBIs. He chops this one foul into the bleachers down the left field line. We started a little bit late today because of rain and lightning in the area. Delayed us for almost half an hour, but couldn't tell looking at the sky right now. It is perfect, partly cloudy. Temperature falling a little bit as Santos rings up White on the outside corner. Third strikeout already today for Nolan.
I'd also just like to say, Mike, this is the first weather delay we've had here at the Jack in over 2 seasons. Since I started here as an SID a couple years ago, we have not had a single weather delay. And thankfully, our first one in that time span, just a couple minutes, 20 minutes, not a big deal.
Still haven't had a rain out. Maybe saying that with 2 games left is an ill omen. Here is Marcus Atterbury, the designated hitter. He's batting .314, 32 runs, 33 hits, 5 homers, 28 RBIs. Fouls this one straight back in the count 1-1. Atterbury second on the team in home runs with 5 behind Ty Hill with 6. As Jackson State, another team like BCU, doesn't hit a lot of home runs. They score a lot with small ball and with doubles in the alley. Count 1-2 on White. correction on Atterbury. Breaking ball, strike 3, caught the inside corner. And it's a second reverse K in a row, 4th of the day already for Santos.
Well, clearly he hasn't been too affected by the record breaker back in the first inning, just going right back to work and looking just as nasty as he has all season long.
I mean, Nolan's the kind of guy that doesn't let that stuff bother him, right? He goes up there to do a job. He throws heat. He walks back to the dugout. He gets up and does it again. That's just kind of the guy he is.
And, you know, it's a shame. I mean, not necessarily a shame for him, but the LSU Friday night starter has been so great this season. Otherwise, Santos may have had a shot at #1 in the country.
But it's great to shine a spotlight on the university and our athletic program that we have a guy that is top of the charts in a big statistic like that nationally. Here's the 1-1. Fastball strike inside corner 1-2. This is Marshall Louise, the catcher. He's batting .277, 37 runs on 39 hits, no homers, 17 RBIs. And Santos looking for a quick inning. Here's the 1-2. Breaking ball doesn't catch the outside corner, and Nolan was walking off the mound halfway to the dugout before he realized that Lance Barnes, the home plate umpire, had called that a ball.
See, that's Nolan's personality, and I think that's why it's been so great, especially on a Friday night, to have a guy like that.
2-2, 2 outs. Variety deals, and it's chopped softly down the right field line, and that is about the weakest base hit you shall ever see as it falls in front of Luis Pena, and it's the first hit of the game for Jackson State.
Kind of interesting there by Boris Pena. Not really coming in on the ball. I'm not sure if he just had a weird read of it. Maybe he was slicing a bit towards the line. Maybe, I mean, it's easy for us to say up in the booth that could have maybe run that one down with how long it stayed up in the air, but probably smart to let it fall in front of him.
Yeah, from my angle, didn't look like he was going to get there. It had so much front spin from coming off the front of the bat.
Yeah.
It just arced down the line and kind of found no man's land out there. Here's Omar Gomez, the 8-hitter, batting .253, 75 at-bats, 17 runs on 19 hits, 1 homer, and 9 RBIs. Runner on first and 2 outs here in the top of the second. Santos deals the 0-1. Inside, almost hit him with a fastball, and it's 1-1. Santos, when he hit Ty Hill in the first, here's the 1-1, chopped short, slowly towards short. Tough play for Garcia. He makes the play, and a stretching Manny Sufrain gets the arm out there to end the inning. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. We go to the bottom of the second inning. Still 4-0 BCU right here on the Cat Eye Network. We go to the second, and we've already hit the bottom of the Wildcats order. Jeremy Garcia, who made the nice play at shortstop to end the top of the inning, leads off. Womble's still on the hill for Jackson State. First pitch, strike on the outside corner, 0-1.
Shortstop, number 25, Jeremy Garcia.
Jeremy Garcia now down 0-2. Swings and misses, strike 3. And it's the second strikeout of the game for Wumble. Luis Tuero back for the second straight inning. Singled to lead off the game and scored on the Boris Pena RBI single last inning. Of course, Brian Perez, who normally plays for the Wildcats, not in the lineup tonight after homering against UCF on Tuesday in an 11-7 defeat for the Wildcats. Womble working really quickly, forcing Tuero to step out of the box to kind of keep his rhythm. Here's the 1-1. Breaking ball, strike outside corner, 1-2. Outfield and infield playing straight up with nobody on base. Chop foul by Tuero, still 1-2. Last time out against Jackson State was the last weekend of April at the very tail end of that long road trip. The Wildcats dropped 2 out of 3 after taking Friday's game. That game went to 13 innings before the Wildcats finally closed it out 9-7. And called strike 3 on Tuero, and he is gone. So across the inning break, 3 straight strikeouts for Wumble, as maybe he's finding his form a little bit.
We've seen some of the starting pitching, no matter what level, whether it's all the way up at the top, of course, with Melendez at Alabama State or even down to Mississippi Valley. There's some good starting pitchers in this conference that just know how to get into a groove and get it done. And they've kind of haunted the Wildcats in many different instances this season.
Here's Garrett Chun, drew a walk and scored in the first pitch outside and low, 1-0. Jackson State last weekend took 2 of 3 from Mississippi Valley, and were 1 out away on Sunday from getting the sweep, but the Delta Devils prevailed.
So we've sung plenty of praises for Mississippi Valley State this year, which is not something you maybe do on a year-to-year basis, but they've got some teams napping, and they've taken advantage.
In the dirt, 3-0 on Garrett Chun. Jackson State has won 4 straight conference series. They're kind of the opposite to BCU. They started the year very slow in conference. A breaking ball strike finds the outside corner. And have picked it up as of late, really secured their spot as the number 4 seed. I remember we were talking a couple of weeks ago, another strike in on Sean, count 3-2, that maybe Mississippi Valley could have pipped them for that final playoff spot, but just Jackson State's gotten hot. Basically took 2 out of 3 from everybody except Alabama State. Here's the full count delivery. Chopped foul will do it again.
And Mike, the SWAC East with Mississippi Valley down there in that 5 spot, the basement of it has been significantly more competitive than we've seen in the SWAC West. That's why you see a lot of the top teams, Prairie View or Grambling, they've got some free wins kind of baked into their schedule. So some inflated conference records. It'll prove for an interesting tournament where a lot of these East teams haven't seen the West yet.
Is the quirk of the SWAC schedule as Garrett Chun draws a second walk in his many innings from Wumble. And he is on with 2 outs, and here's Highland Hall. First pitch swinging, popped it up to center field his first time up, and maybe a little bit over-aggressive from Highland. Maybe let's see him try and settle down here.
Highland certainly a guy who's earned the right to be aggressive, especially with the way he's hit past couple of weeks. He was named Hitter of the Week on Tuesday of this week, second time this year.
This time the ball skips past Louise into the backstop, so give a wild pitch for Garrett Chun to advance.
Highland Hall last weekend went 10 for 15 at the plate. He had a 5 for 6 night against FAMU last week. That's impossible to get out. That is insane. 5 for 6.
Of course, you mentioned earlier the Wildcats have struck out significantly less this year than they did last year.
161 season to season is a big number.
And we've harped on the fact that they've been overly aggressive in swinging at first pitches, but they've been putting balls in play and not going down on strikes. And maybe that was something that the coaching staff wanted to eliminate by telling all their hitters to be super aggressive at the plate.
And, you know, there's two different sides to that coin. I'll let him throw the pitch here before we get into that
Here's the
one.
1-0, swing and a miss. Highland Hall goes down on strikes. Oh, correction, that's the... They didn't reset the scoreboard, so I had the count wrong. The count is 1-1. A little bit of a weirdness there. Hall still up with 2 outs, and Shun on second. And he releases this one down the left field line, barely foul.
Yeah, Mike, when we talk about putting balls into play, of course, when you're doing that, it's challenging the defense no matter how hard or easy or routine the play is. You're challenging the defense to make a play, which is usually something you prefer over straight striking out. It's gotten the Wildcats in trouble a little bit, though, when you start to talk about letting a starter work really deep. And with some of these top-end East starters, you could run into a bit of trouble.
The 1-2 upstairs, and it's 2-2.
Ultimately, I think if you're the coaching staff, you would probably preach balls in play over a strikeout.
Yeah, make the defense work. And I remember when I was playing, my coach would always harp on, you know, don't hit pop-ups, get over the ball, as Highland Hall did there, forcing Hill at third to make a play, which he does. 5-3, no runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 left. We go to the 3rd inning, still 4-0 Wildcats right here on the Cat Eye Network. To the 3rd inning we go. Moving right along here on the Cat Eye Network. Michael Cervillo, Bryce Oinoski with you. Nolan Santos back out for his 3rd inning of work. And here's the 9-hole hitter for Jackson State, Cesar Saavedra. Saavedra batting .351, but only 77 at-bats, as that pitch is inside, ball 1. 27 runs on 27 hits, no homers, 13 RBI. He only has 1 extra base hit this season. Hit high and foul to the right-hand side, and it's 1-1. Taking a look at the SWAC standings, the all-important SWAC standings going into this last weekend of play. The 1-1 from Santos, breaking ball misses upstairs, 2-1. Right now, Alabama State has the lead in the East, 24-3. They cannot be caught. Bethune-Cookman, 18-8, is currently in 2nd place. Oof. Second hit batter of the day for Santos. He plunks Saavedra on the noggin and gives him first base. So Santos, while he does have 4 strikeouts, he's given up 2 hit by pitches. And here's the top of the order with Jatavius Melton, grounded out to 3rd his first time up. First runner for Jackson State of the evening with nobody out. Their other 2 base runners have come with 1 out and 2 outs respectively. Third place in the SWAC East is Florida A&M at 17-10. Chop foul by Melton, and the count 0-1. 0-2, correction. And then Jackson State is locked into fourth at 12-15. Mississippi Valley State 7-21. Alabama A&M 3-24. So there is a scenario this week where Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M end up tied, as the pitch is caught on and missed by Melton as he goes down swinging. Really nasty changeup that broke low and away. And there are 2 away.
Santos with 5 strikeouts already, well on his way to his 9th double-digit strikeout outing of the season.
And here's Daniel Bannon, was the first strikeout victim for Santos back in the first. Swinging the bright orange bat that is in stark contrast to the very monochromatic uniform matchup we have today. Jackson State in the black jerseys, gray pants trimmed in navy and white. Bethune-Cookman in the Friday all-whites with the black hat. After the check to first pitch to Bannon is low, 1-0. On the western side of things, Grambling State 21-6, they cannot be caught, and then it is chaos for 2, 3, and 4. Here's Santos' 1-0, chop foul, 1-1. Texas Southern currently 15-9, sits in second. Southern at 14-10 is third, and Prairie View at 14-13 is fourth. So 1 win separates second from fourth. So there is a scenario where Texas Southern gets the 4 seed. They have a bad weekend. I haven't looked at the matchups in the West. We can do that in between the innings.
And, of course, you talk about the potential in the East, Mike, of FAMU and BCU to be tied. Wildcats still have that game in hand that they didn't play against Alabama A&M.
Breaking ball finds the corner. Strike 2, 1-2 on Bannon.
There is, of course, a scenario that exists that game would have to be played if games shook out in a certain way this weekend. Not entirely sure logistically how that would work, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
The 1-2, breaking ball, swing and a miss, strike 3. Little excuse me swing from Bannon, and there are 2 away. And here is Ty Hill. He was hit by a pitch in the first inning. Big spot for Hill here. Hill, as I mentioned, their best hitter, 401. 47 runs, 65 hits, 6 homers, 53 RBIs, all team highs. First pitch, a fastball low and away. They're trying to catch Saavedra stealing as he was on first after being hit by a pitch to begin the inning. Santos, breaking ball. Strike caught the outside corner, 1-1. You can see after every pitch, Irvin Escobar is hopping up, trying to catch Saavedra leaning over at first.
Irvin certainly got the arm for it. The Wildcats this season have paid a lot of attention to runners over on first. It's been a clear initiative.
The 1-1, big cut and miss from Hill on the fastball, and it's 1-2. But as a team, the Wildcats have not stolen much.
Stark contrast from last year.
Only 45 attempted stolen bases. They were successful 33 times. Here's the 1-2. Breaking ball, swing and a miss, strike 3. The throw down to second doesn't matter because Hill is out to end the inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 left on. We go to the bottom of the third, 4-0 Wildcats. You're listening to Cat Eye Network. To the bottom of the third we go. Wildcats trying to increase their 4-0 lead over Jackson State here on a picture-perfect Friday evening at the ballpark. Boris Pena leads off the third. Singled in Tuero in the first and then scored himself on the double by Moya. And the first pitch to him from Christian Womble, who is still out there for his third inning of work, is outside to the righty, 1-0. Womble already into his windup, and he gets Pena to foul it off 1-1. We talk a little bit about the murderer's row of the middle of this order, Bryce, when you've got Highland Hall, Boris Pena, Robert Moya, and you can kind of add in maybe Luis Tuero into that as well, even though he's leading off. And then, of course, some other guys can rotate in and out of that heart of the order, but it's as tough a 3 or 4 batter swing as you'll find in the SWAC. The 1-2, Pena stays alive.
And it's just crazy, Mike. Last season's best hitters are on the Wildcats bench. Malik Stevens was leadoff all year last year. He was great. Brian Perez usually bat out of the 5 spot last year. He's on the bench. It's just a credit to the guys that Coach Hernandez has brought in, just how deep this lineup can be.
The 1-2 is low. Louise tried to frame it, but it is 2-2.
And, of course, you got Robert Moya, who can DH or play first, and Manny Sufrain's been hitting the ball really well the last couple of weekends. He's another guy who might come off the bench but can give you a huge boost.
Pena hits this one in the air in the infield. Coming in is White. He makes his second catch of the game, and there are 2 away. No, correction, there's 1 away. Again, the scoreboard didn't reset.
A lot of times the broadcast may know better than we do with the score bug up on there.
Here's Robert Moya, who had the 2-run double in the first that scored Chun and Pena. Moya takes a strike on the inside corner, 0-1. Kind of hit it off the end of the bat, but he got it high enough into the air that the wind carried it out to deep right field, and it was in the air off about halfway up the wall in the public sign out in right.
Of course, most importantly for Robert Moya tonight, Mike changed his walk-up song to Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And a little personality out here.
The 1-1, chop foul 1-2. It's always interesting to see what the players will do for the walk-up songs and for traditions. And, you know, you have guys like Highland Hall who have really long plate routines where they get ready to hit. It's all these superstitions. And you never can tell. Here's the 1-2, chop foul into the Jackson State dugout. We'll do it again. But you can never tell if they're doing it to be performative, or if they're doing it because, you know, that's how they've always done it since they were a kid. But you never really want to interrupt somebody when they're in their flow like that. And maybe Moya punched that one foul off of his hand as he's walking out to Coach Carballo at third.
You know, some guys will stick with their walk-ups all year, whether through, you know, the worst of their at-bat performances or through the best of it. Robert Moya's changed his 3 or 4 times this season. Highland Hall, another guy who's kind of rotated through him. Some guys will use it as that superstition, get you out of a slump or whatever. Some guys may just get tired of it. It's all kind of up to preference.
It's all up to our sound director, Josh, to deal with.
And always a field day when you come up there and tell him we've got 4 or 5 changes for him. But soldiers through it.
Continuing with our discussion from last inning on the SWAC tournament, it's kind of an interesting setup where you have pooled double elimination where you don't play the other side of the bracket until the championship game. So you could see the same team 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, we see bracket A will start out with number 1 in the East versus number 4 in the West, with number 2 in the West taking on 3 in the East. Then you vice versa that for bracket B.
Moya back in the box and strikes out on a huge cut and miss and a fastball upstairs. There are now 2 away, and here's Manny Sufrain. Singled to score Moya in the first. That was the end of the Wildcats' offensive output in the opening frame. And all credit to Christian Womble after giving up those 5 hits of the first 6 batters. He's settled down now, hasn't allowed a hit since then. So it's been 8 batters to the plate with no hits for BCU since Sufrain singled in the first.
Just threw pitch number 63 right there.
He works quickly, does Womble already thrown 2 pitches. The count's 1-1.
Maybe the most refreshing part of SWAC baseball is, for the most part, everybody works quickly.
Hit off the inside of the bat, high in the air down the left field line. Bannon tracking it on the track, makes the catch. 1-2-3 go the Cats. They still got a 4-0 lead as we head to the 4th inning right here on the Cat Eye Network. Brett Mersman leads off the 4th for the Jackson State Tigers. Mersman, a senior from White Lake, Michigan, long way from home, playing down in Jackson, Mississippi. Mersman struck out to end the 1st inning for Jackson State. Fouls the first pitch off into the bleachers down the left field line. Started his college career at Mott's Community College, then transferred to North Carolina A&T, and now at Jackson State. So he's in his 3rd school in 4 years. Last year at North Carolina A&T, hit .266 with 5 home runs and 14 RBIs. The 0-2 from Santos, breaking ball, slashes right through the zone for strike 3, and Mersman goes down for the 2nd time tonight.
Strikeout number 8 for Santos tonight. Season high is 13. I think we've really seen in the last handful of starts here at the Jack for Santos, that off-speed pitch has really been a go-to for him for the strikeout. A lot of sweeping out of the zone or cutting out right at the last minute. It's been huge.
First pitch, a fastball low to Miles White. White struck out to begin the 2nd. Fastball strike on the outside corner, 1-1. Miles, a junior from Mobile, Alabama. Excuse me, swing, and it's a strike, 1-2. Transfer from Wallace Dothan Community College for Miles White. So Jackson State, like BCU and a lot of other SWAC schools, really likes to ply the waters of community college for their players as White goes down looking. 2nd strikeout of the inning for Santos, and here's Marcus Atterbury.
And Mike, the Wildcats and Coach Hernandez landed the 37th ranked JUCO class in the country ahead of this season. That's the highest in school history.
Another community college transfer, Marcus Atterbury, transferred from Meridian Community College, although that is a little closer to home in Mississippi. First pitch fastball misses low, and the count 1-0. Atterbury in his final year of eligibility. He's a graduate student from Monticello, Mississippi. Santos is 1-0. Breaking ball catches the inside part of the plate, 1-1. hit off the inside of the hands behind second base. You know Colton Olison's catching that. And 1, 2, 3 go the Tigers. We go to the bottom of the fourth. Still a 4-0 lead for BCU right here on the Cat Eye Network. Irvin Escobar set to step into the batter's box to lead off the fourth for Bethune-Cookman. They still have a 4-0 lead after scoring all their runs in the bottom of the first. Christian Womble has set down 7 of the last 8 Wildcat hitters. The only base runner a walk to Garrett Chun in the second. Escobar, a sophomore from Barceloneta, Puerto Rico.
Been one of a handful of guys on this Wildcats team that have just been brutal to strike out. He's got 13 strikeouts and 99 official at-bats, but he's got 18 walks. He, Colton Olison, and Garrett Chun all have more walks than Ks.
There's a strike in the count, 2-1 after Womble's first 2 pitches went wide. Last year, played 49 games for the Wildcats, batted .228. As that one skips off the ground in front of the catcher, Louise, and hits the backstop, 3-1. So a decent improvement this year for Irvin Escobar, batting .293. Although he has not had as many plate appearances as he would like, splitting time behind the plate with George Braceras. He does, however, draw a 5-pitch walk, and the leadoff man is on. Third walk of the game issued by Womble. He has a positive strikeout to walks ratio coming into the game, 76-47. Here's Colton Olison, struck out looking to end the first in his first at-bat. He bunts one down the first base line, and Womble races over to cover. Nice job by Mersman to collect it, but the sacrifice works, and Escobar moves to second.
Not exactly your textbook bunt there. That one was slapped pretty hard, but kind of got into no man's land, so it forced kind of both the first baseman and the pitcher to kind of run out and try to corral it. So works as a sacrifice either way.
Here's Jeremy Garcia, struck out to begin the second inning in his first at bat. He's got Escobar on second with 1 away. And righty lefty, Womble rides and fires. First pitch is low, 1-0. Garcia's been one of those revelations this year, especially defensively at shortstop. We came into the year kind of not knowing who was going to be the starting shortstop. Jeremy Garcia kind of took that by the reins and said, that's mine, thank you, and hasn't relinquished it all season long.
And of course, taking over for his brother, Matt Garcia, transferred to Missouri in the offseason. He's not really skipped a beat, taking it right over. Like you said, especially defensively, he's been great for them.
Womble's 1-1 is swing and a miss, and it's 1-2.
Jeremy Garcia's had a knack for kind of being the guy that's up in big spots, whether it be bases loaded or otherwise. He's kind of struggled a bit Try to get you the specific numbers with him with runners on or the bases loaded or runners in scoring position, but he'll like to see that change ahead of the tournament, no doubt.
Here's the 1-2, big cut and miss. And Garcia strikes out for the second time today. I do remember on the Friday game against Alabama A&M, I can turn back in my book to find it. Yeah, it was the Friday game. He struck out to end the inning with the bases loaded twice. And that was a game the Wildcats still won in 7 innings. It could have been a lot worse than it was. Here's Luis Tuero, his 3rd plate appearance already here in the 4th inning. Singled and scored in the 1st, struck out in the 2nd. And he's got Irvin Escobar on with 2 down. And he hits this one sharply into left field, racing over his bat, and he slides and makes the catch to end the inning. A nice defensive play to save a run from Daniel Bannon. No runs, no hits, no errors, 1 left. We head to the 5th inning of play. Still 4-0 Wildcats here on the Cat Eye Network. To the 5th inning we go here at the Jack. Nolan Santos still on the hill for the Wildcats. Marshall Louise, the catcher, leads off. He has the only hit for Jackson State so far today. A little bloop single into left field that got down in front of Pena back in the 2nd inning. And Nolan deals. Fastball strike outside corner 1-0. Or, excuse me, 0-1. Only 54 pitches before this inning started for Nolan Santos. Been very efficient mowing down these Jackson State hitters. Swing and a miss at a ball outside, strike 2.
Even for a guy who works so fast, characteristically, he is mowing right along right now.
The 0-2. Missed with the fastball outside, 1-2.
You'd like to think Santos with his sights set on the draft over the summer. It's going to be interesting to see, what kind of the scouts who've been here a handful of games have learned about him and what they think he can do at the next level.
Chop right back to Santos. He underhands it to first, and there's one away.
We saw, after you, Mike.
Nolan, a junior from Miami Beach. So he still has another year at least left here with Bethune-Cookman. 2 years potentially if he decides to use his COVID year.
We saw Logan Gilbert down the street at Stetson get drafted, I believe it was 14 maybe by the Mariners a couple years ago.
Chop foul, 0-1. This is Omar Gomez, grounded out to short his first time up. That was to end the 2nd. Really nice play by Garcia and a stretch from Sufrain to get him out. And the 0-1, breaking ball didn't break, and it's 1-1.
Looking up Logan Gilbert's numbers earlier this week, just trying to kind of compare the seasons between these two guys, seeing as they're so close together.
Chop foul, 1-2.
Gilbert finished his final season at Stetson with 168 strikeouts, which is just a mind-blowing number. I think he had a couple more starts in there than Santos has this year.
It depends on also how far Stetson went in the postseason. Here's a 1-2. Little excuse me swing. Chopped at foul. Stays alive at 1-2 does Gomez.
Just kind of goes to show you, though, that these scouts and these organizations will find you no matter where you play. If it's a guy that they believe is stuff, and I certainly think it will, can play at the next level.
We've got at least one scout here tonight that I ran into downstairs before the game. Another pitch chop foul to the backstop by Gomez, and he is putting on Santos putting on a show for the scout here today this evening, who I believe was not here to see him. He was here to see Ty Hill, the third baseman from Jackson State, because when I was coming in, he was asking to see the Jackson State roster.
We've seen scouts out here every weekend. We usually have one or two guys trickle in. Maybe they've had their fill of Santos this season. I'm sure we've gotten plenty of guys who were here to see him early in the season. And, of course, it's Scout Day before the year, annual tradition here at the Jack.
The 2-2 delivery to Gomez. Breaking ball misses inside, 3-2. I think this is the first full count that Santos has faced today. He's been very efficient, either getting guys to ground out or fly out or striking him out on 2 or 3 pitches.
I think as far as his professional dreams go, I think a lot of it's going to be, can he get a couple more miles an hour on that fastball? You know, it's his best pitch, so if he can really tick that up to the major league level we see now, he's got a real good chance.
The 3-2 chop foul will do it again. You know, I can see Nolan maybe as a middle innings kind of guy at the minor league level in a year or two. Just depends on if he decides to come back to BCU next year. If he gets drafted high up, here's the pitch. Again, a foul ball. This is the longest at-bat of the game by anybody on either team.
That's what guys and teams will have to probably look to game plan for going into the SWAC tournament, just working in counts and just trying to get him out of the game as quick as possible because there's not much else you can do.
Really nice at-bat here by Omar Gomez after going down 0-2. It stayed alive with a couple of foul balls, worked a 3-2 count. And ball 4 low. And Gomez walks. First walk of the game issued by Santos. Has 2 hit by pitches.
There's such a thing as a momentum-shifting walk that may have the makings of one.
You can tell Nolan is not happy about that. Kind of pounds the ball into his glove. Escobar just goes out to check on him. Make sure everything's all right.
It's the kind of fire, though, that if I'm Coach Hernandez, if I'm the Wildcats, I'd want to see out of my Friday night guy. 4 runs on the board, kind of cruising through, 1 walk. The guy's fired up. Whether he wanted some different pitch calls strategically or if he didn't like some calls at the plate or either way, just kind of wearing that heart on his sleeve and getting right back to work.
Santos, one of the many Bethune-Cookman players that left to go play somewhere else during the COVID year where the Wildcats didn't take the field at all. First pitch to Saavedra is a strike. Played at Miami-Dade College, went back home for a year. And the 0-1 drilled foul down the right field line into the Budweiser bullpen.
Of course, Santos, and I know we've mentioned it on the broadcast on these Friday night starts earlier this season, didn't start last year as a starter at all, let alone the Friday night guy. I remember a start down in DeLand at Stetson where I think he had 8 strikeouts or so in 4 innings and just really took it from there.
Runner going, throw down to second, and he is safe. A little bit late getting over there was Olison, so Escobar had to pump once before actually throwing. If Olison or Garcia was in position, you'd think that might have been an out, but a stolen base for Gomez. Puts a runner on second with 1 out. Count 1-2 on Saavedra. Saavedra from Panama City, Panama. Breaking ball tipped into the glove and then dropped by Escobar. So it'll stay alive and the count's still 1-2. I think Irvin might have want to have that one back. Could have been strikeout number 9 for Santos.
Trying to finish the regular season off strong.
The sun sets Day transitions in tonight here at Jackie Robinson Ballpark. Santos comes set and fires the 1-2. Inside 2-2 on the fastball. You mentioned a couple miles an hour on the fastball. If he's working it, that's getting up touching the low 90s, 92, 93. He drops down to the low to mid 80s with the breaking ball or the changeup. The 2-2 to Saavedra. Hit off the end of the bat, high in the air to shallow right. Hall moves over, makes the catch. And he stared right at Omar Gomez at second inside. Dare you to run. Gomez stays at second, and they're 2 away. And Jatavius Melton comes back to the plate. Grounded to third in the first, struck out in the third. Melton from Natchez, Mississippi, and a transfer from Mississippi Delta Community College. First pitch to him. Breaking ball, strike on the inside corner. We talk about a lot of these guys that come from community colleges or, some of the lesser-known high school programs that find themselves in the SWAC, and that's what coaches and programs at this level of college baseball really need to do is find guys that slip through the cracks and maybe hang on to them for a couple of years before they move on up the ladder. And you find that in every sport. You find that in basketball with guys like Zion Harmon, who are here at Bethune-Cookman.
These guys coaches at this level have no issue being a kind of a building block, a stepping stone to the next level for these guys. That's what these kind of programs are here for.
The 0-2 from Santos, fouled away to the right side. Will do it again.
Be interesting to see with a lot of the big names on this Wildcats squad with some eligibility left, whether it be Robert Moya, Highland Hall, Luis Tuero is another one of the Power 5 transfers, to see if they're committed to this program, if they'd like to look elsewhere, what kind of iteration of the Wildcats we'll get next season. Of course, we'll officially welcome, or I say send off, 5 seniors on Saturday.
Drilled to center field. Moving over Chun. He makes the catch to end the inning and end a dangerous threat for the Tigers. No runs, no hits, no errors, 1 left. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Still 4-0 on the Cat Eye Network. Garrett Chun leads off the 5th inning for the Wildcats. They have a 4-0 lead over Jackson State. All 4 of those runs coming in the 1st inning. Garrett Chun hit off the end of the bat, high in the air down the left field line, moving over Bannon, and that will drop perfectly into the little area between the fence and the clubhouse down the left field line. If it was golf, it would have been a hole-in-one.
A splash down over there. I mean, I guess I say that, but the river's over there, but thinking it more in basketball terms. Nothing but
cage. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I need to cut that analogy off.
Garrett
right
probably
there.
couldn't have done that again if he tried. That's only about a 2 yards wide little slit there down the left field line. Next pitch is in there for a strike, and it's 0-2. Chun walked and scored to the first, walked and was stranded on second in the second. Garrett takes a pitch outside, 1-2. Garrett's been one of those guys this year who's been quietly productive at the plate. We don't talk a lot about him when you talk about the big guys at the top of this lineup, but he's been in there most of the season. 47 starts and 46 appearances.
One of the 3 guys on this team. He's got 19 strikeouts to 25 walks. Some serious plate discipline.
He's worked it back to a 3-2 count as this one from Womble misses upstairs. We saw in the last inning that Cesar Saavedra started 0-2 and then ended up going about 9 pitches, 10 pitches deep in that at-bat, although Chun swings and misses at strike 3, and there's 1 away. Quietly, the 6th strikeout of the night for Womble. He's turned in a really good performance after the shaky start he had in the first.
Really hasn't even been in any kind of danger since that first inning.
The Wildcats don't have a hit since the first inning. Their only base runners have been the 2 walks, 1 to Chun and 1 to Escobar, although both of them have reached second base. The 1-0 to Highland Hall, swings and misses at a fastball. He's way behind that one, and it's 1-1.
Highland Hall leads the Wildcats in batting average, OPS, RBI. He's got 6 triples. He had 2 in a game last weekend.
Pitch gets to the backstop, 2-1. Of course, the transfer from Washington State went about as far away from home as you can to start playing college baseball, originally from Ocoee in the Orlando area, and then decided to come back closer to home, play for the Wildcats.
You know, I remember really, really early on in the season, Highland Hall started a bit slow at the plate. There was kind of probably some question marks in his head, but just locked it in and has just been outstanding.
The 3-1 from Womble, chop foul 3-2. Highland Hall being aggressive at the plate, as he usually is. Started 17 games as a Cougar last year, and he'll draw a walk as that ball bounces to the plate. 3rd walk issued by Womble, and there's 1 away with 1 gone. 1 on with 1 gone, excuse me. And here's Boris Pena. Singled and scored in the first, popped out to second base in the 3rd. Pena, another junior. This is a really junior-heavy lineup for the Wildcats, and we were talking before the game, as the first pitch is fouled away, about how this season and potentially next season, depending on who sticks around, is going to be kind of a high point for the Wildcats in terms of seniority on the roster and maybe a big chance to go win a SWAC title and head to the NCAA tournament. Runner goes, ball gets to the backstop. It's going to be an easy steal for Highland Hall. And he gets to second. The count 1-1 on Pena with a runner on second now in scoring position. And if you'd ask me to pick one player, runner on second, who's bringing him home, Pena'd be up there.
Pena was probably the Wildcats' best hitter in the SWAC tournament last year. Got some big-time help for him in the middle of that order this time around. Take some of the heat off of him. Can't really pitch around anybody in this Wildcat order.
Womble's 1-1. Swing and a miss, and it's 1-2. Boris, a senior from Hialeah. And Womble's 1-2. Chop foul will do it again, still 1-2. Played at Wallace Community College in 2021, but other than that, has been a career Wildcat under Coach Hernandez.
Kind of a part of that first core group of guys for Coach Johnny.
Upstairs, 2-2. working really deep in counts this inning of the Wildcats. Hall drew a walk, and now a couple of foul balls for Pena. Up to 89 pitches for Christian Womble, so I'm not sure how much longer he'll be on the mound, although there is nobody working in the Jackson State bullpen. The 2-2. Bounce to the plate, 3-2.
We've seen a lot of these SWAC teams, SWAC head coaches really work their starters down to nothing. Especially early on in this series, we've seen 130 pitches from guys, well over 100. So we'll see how Jackson State wants to approach it. But given how close we are to the tournament, probably don't want to burn him too far.
The full count delivery from Womble is chopped foul at home plate. Mentioned guys like McClendon from Mississippi Valley, or Whitted from Alabama A&M, Campbell from Alabama A&M. Both of those guys were here last week and threw a lot of pitches.
College baseball in general can be pretty ruthless when it comes to working your starters like that. Why a lot of guys maybe defer from doing it.
Big cut and miss on a breaking ball, and down goes Pena on a full count. And now there's 2 away. Here's Robert Moya, doubled in the first. That was a 2-run double, scoring Chun and Pena, and then scored on the Sufrain RBI. Struck out in the third, and now bats with Hall on second and 2 away in the fifth. Hall takes off to third because nobody was covering the bag, but eventually Hill does cover the bag, and we'll start the next inning with Moya at the plate because that's the third out. No runs, no hits, none left. And we go to the sixth. Still 4-0 Wildcats right here on the Cat Eye Network. To the sixth inning we go here at Jackie Robinson. Nolan Santos still on the mound for the Wildcats with a 4-run lead. Daniel Bannon leads off, has struck out twice, once in the first and once in the third. But he has contributed defensively, making 2 nice catches in left, which has saved at least 1 run for the Wildcats, maybe possibly 2 or 3.
His sliding catch is probably on the short list of some of the best we've seen at the Jack this year.
And he rips one towards short. Garcia moves to his left, makes the play, and 1 pitch, 1 out.
It's number 79 for Santos. 4 strikeouts away from his season high, so he'll have some work to do if he wants to reach that number.
We see Dale Machad slowly, lazily tossing some balls to George Braceras out in the BCU bullpen down the left field line. Here's Ty Hill, was hit by a pitch in the first, struck out in the third. Chops it foul, and it's 0-1. Hill, as we mentioned, is a finalist for the Ferris Trophy, given to the top college baseball player in the state of Mississippi. He's 4th in the SWAC in batting average at .401, 8th in the nation in on-base percentage at .530. Very hard to get out. Here's the 0-2. Swinging a high pop. It will go foul down the right field line.
Top of this Jackson State lineup, just guys that get on base, especially by the walk.
Did he go? No. So the count 2-1. The pitching rotation weekend for Jackson State will see Christian Wobble tonight, Jesse Caver tomorrow, and Colby Guy on Saturday. Breaking ball doesn't catch the inside part of the plate, much to the chagrin of the Wildcat dugout. You can hear him all the way up here. Chirping at home plate umpire Lance Barnes. So from a 0-2 count, it's now 2-2. Santos deals. Chop foul into the chest protector of Escobar. And it's 2-2 again.
You know, Mike, that Wildcat pitching rotation is going to be a big part of the conversation leading up to next week's tournament. Who's going to be after Daniel Gaviria? Who's going to be that third guy? And especially if you find your way into the losers bracket, you need maybe 4 guys who can step in.
Big cut and miss on an upstairs fastball, and down goes Hill. Strikeout number 10, I believe, on the night for Santos.
His 9th double-digit strikeout outing of the season.
Here's Brett Mersman. He's been sat down on 2 of those 10 strikeouts, and he takes a big cut and miss on what looks like a slider upstairs. And it's 0-1. Nolan, that's the first real wild one we've seen from him tonight. He skips that to the plate cricket style. And it's 1-1. Jackson State has gotten a lot of mileage out of close games this season. As a strike, fastball outside corner 1-2. Their relief pitcher, closer Eric Gonzalez, leads the SWAC in saves with 8 on the year. But we are not in a position to see him tonight with the Wildcats having a 4-0 lead. Breaking ball misses low, 2-2.
Nolan Santos started the second game of the SWAC tournament for the Wildcats last year. He went 6 innings, allowed 4 runs, 4 earned runs, walked 2, struck out 6.
The 2-2 laced back up the middle, and there's only the second hit of the game for Jackson State as Mersman is aboard. The other base hit was Marshall Louise back in the second inning on a bloop single to left.
Of course, I bring up those Nolan Santos numbers from last year's tournament, and in many ways he's improved significantly from the pitcher he was last year. Just kind of felt more in control on a week-to-week basis. Just a guy who's always got his finger on the trigger and his hand all over the game.
Bounce to the plate, first pitch to Miles White, who's also struck out twice today. Maybe you're thinking third time through the order, they're starting to see Noel a little bit. We've seen the strikeout numbers go down in relation to other types of outs as we've gone through this game. The 1-0 hit sharply to the right side. There's a base hit. So 2 straight hits with 2 outs for Jackson State. They've got first and second. And now here is Marcus Atterbury. Atterbury struck out in the second, popped out lazily to Olson in the fourth. And here comes Jonathan Hernandez. And we will see if that is the end for Nolan Santos. And if it is, that's a quick trigger finger from Coach Johnny.
It's like Joel Sanchez, pitching coach, is going to head out there and talk to him. Doesn't usually signify the change quite yet. Santos, obviously a guy who's, especially with 2 outs, earned that leash and that chance to get through an inning, but very well may be his final batter of the night, regardless of the outcome.
We still see what we believe to be Dale Machad working down there in the left field bullpen. Coming to bat next is Marcus Atterbury. Struck out in the second, popped out to the second baseman in the fourth. Atterbury, last week against Mississippi Valley, was 4 for 8 with 2 runs, 1 double, 6 RBIs. Second on the team in batting average at an even .500 against the Delta Devils. Santos remains in the game and will work with 2 on and 2 out here in the 6th. Wildcats looking to cling to that 4-0 lead. Nolan deals, breaking ball, cut on and missed. Atterbury was nowhere near it.
And you certainly don't want to work Santos down to the very last bit of his strength tonight with the tournament coming up next week. He's probably going to have to be ready to go for a larger workload than he's used to.
Breaking ball, catches the inside corner 0-2. Atterbury last year hit .259 in 41 games with 3 home runs, 32 RBIs, and an .813 OPS. He's a graduate student, is Atterbury, in his final year of eligibility. He's down 0-2 to Nolan as he steps off, maybe trying to catch one of the runners back there napping, but Mersman, who is at second, holds firm. Miles White is at first. They're on due to consecutive base hits. Santos is 1-1. Breaking ball, waved at and missed. Oh, that was strike 3. The scoreboard had it wrong again. So Santos works out of it, leaves 2 on base. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. And we go to the bottom of the 6th. Wildcats looking for some offense. It's still 4-0 here on the Cat Eye Network. Robert Moya leads off the bottom of the 6th for Bethune-Cookman, still without a hit since the first inning, but right now that's all they've needed. But maybe some more runs for the Wildcats would be nice here because we know that Dale Machad will be coming in to start the next inning as Nolan Santos is done. He finishes with 11 strikeouts. Moya leans away from a pitch up and in, 1-0. Moya, another one of those boys from Hialeah. He's a junior and another career Wildcat except for season at Cleveland Community College. Swings and hits one high in the air, foul right field side out of play. You can hear him really putting effort into every one of these swings, and he's one guy on this lineup, not a lot of finesse. Just pure power.
His home run at FAMU last weekend went all the way to the trees past the outfield, which, if you've ever been to that ballpark up there in Tallahassee, is a bomb.
Was his 7th of the year. It took a long time between 6 and 7. He hit 6, I think, at Florida right at the start of the road trip, and he was held homerless until last week.
I have a guy who I would have figured probably get up there towards 10 or more for this season, but I'm sure he'd like to have a few back here or there, but he hasn't gotten shorted on doubles, leads the team in the category.
Missed a home run by a couple feet in the first inning. It smacked off the wall about halfway up.
If he called a lot of these SWAC ballparks home, he'd probably have a lot more to show for it. We know this is a tough ballpark to get it out.
Big cut and miss, and down he goes. So Moya struck out twice after hitting that double in the first. Womble up to 7 strikeouts now. And here's Manny Safrain, who was the last Wildcat to get a hit back in the first inning when he singled in Robert Moya. After that, he flied to right field. That was the really nice, to left field. That was a really nice sliding catch by Bannon to end the third. Count 1-1 after a strike on pitch number 2. The Safrain single was between the first baseman and second baseman, right to the right field side. Pitch outside, 2-1. Safrain, just a sophomore from Miami. And the 2-1 to him, low and in, 3-1. Manny's going to be one of those guys who Coach Hernandez is going to lean on next season and beyond as he hits this one high in the air down the left field line. That'll stay in play. Bannon moves over, and he makes another great catch. This time, falling away from the ball, he overran it to the left field line, reached back, and made the catch with his butt on the turf.
Maybe 2 of the top plays we've seen here at the Jack all season. I mean, what more can you say? He's been outstanding. 2 highlight SportsCenter top 10 type plays. That one maybe even better than the first.
And both of them against Manny Safrain. So Manny can feel a little bit hard done by some terrific defensive work by Bannon out in left field. Here's Irvin Escobar. Chops one foul, 0-1. Escobar popped out lazily to the second baseman in the first and walked in the fourth. And the 0-1 is hammered foul, right-hand side out of play. Now it's quickly 0-2. And Womble a strike away from another 1-2-3 inning. This time he misses the zone upstairs. Escobar, only 28 starts this season, as he hammers this one to center field, not very deep. Melton stands under it, makes the catch. 1-2-3 go the Wildcats. We head to the 7th. New pitcher for BCU. Dale Machad takes the hill when we come back. You're listening to Wildcat Baseball on the Cat Eye Network. Marshall Louise stands into the batter's box for Jackson State. He'll be the first batter to place Dale Machad, who's now on the hill for Bethune-Cookman, replacing Nolan Santos. Santos goes 6 innings, gives up no runs on 3 hits, and walks 2. And this first pitch, swinging out to left, moving over, Pena makes the catch, 1 away.
Like we were just talking about it over the break, Dale Machad, if you want to start talking about X factors for this Wildcats team, has to be at his best when we get to the tournament. Of course, you have Yohan Gonzalez. He's the closer. We've seen that this year. There's no changing that. He's shown you he can give you length, but you have to have another guy in the bullpen, preferably more than one, but that's where Dale Machad really has to be great if the Wildcats want to work deep.
Breaking ball strike, first pitch to Omar Gomez. Gomez grounded a short in the second, walked, and stole a base in the 5th before being stranded with a pair of flyouts. And the 0-1 in there for a strike. Machad really rips that fastball in there. He's got good velocity. The trouble with Dale a little bit comes from his breaking pitches. But he does get Gomez to swing and miss at a changeup, and there's 2 away.
Dale is clearly one of those pitchers that when he's on, and you can tell pretty quickly.
Here's the 9-hole hitter, Cesar Saavedra, hit by a pitch in the 3rd and popped out to center, to right in the 5th. Never got to Machad's numbers, so I'll do it now. He's a 384 pitcher on ERA. 403 pitcher on ERA in 17 appearances with no starts in 29 innings pitched. He's given up 13 runs on 26 hits all earned, struck out 26 and walked 12, and the count is 0-1. That one finds only the opposite batter's box. Nice stretch from Escobar to keep it from heading to the backstop, and it's 1-1. Machad, a senior from Key West. Played for the Conks at Key West High School.
He does have that 3-1 record out of the bullpen, so he's a guy that's put the Wildcats in a position to win on more than one occasion.
2 seasons at Indian River State. Popped high in the air, racing over Hall, and it's too far for Highland to get to as that landed on the faux dirt track out of the Jackson State bullpen down the right field line. Tough play for anybody.
It was a valiant effort to get over there. I probably would have given up on that long before Highland Hall did.
So Machad played 2 seasons at Indian River State College before coming over here to Bethune-Cookman. Last year was just 1-0, 3.09 ERA in 20 appearances, all of them out of the bullpen. 33 strikeouts in 32 innings pitched. Chopped foul down the first base line. Count holds 2-2 on Saavedra. Cesar Saavedra from Panama is a junior. Started at Trinidad Community College. Last year hit .411 in 61 games for Trinidad. Scored 71 runs, 57 RBIs, had 21 steals. And he already has a... No, he does not have a steal today. He hasn't been on... No. I'm going to start over. He was on base in the 3rd, did not steal. This season, he has stolen 8 times on 10 attempts. This time he swings and misses at a pitch in the dirt. Machad gets 2 strikeouts to end the inning. No runs, no hits, none left. We go to the bottom of the 7th. Wildcats looking for some offense right here on the Cat Eye Network. We are back at the Jack for BCU baseball. Start of the final series of the season here for Bethune-Cookman. They lead the Jackson State Tigers 4-0 as we head to the bottom of the 7th. 8-9-1 for the Wildcats due up. Colton Olison bats. He's 0 for 2, struck out in the first and grounded out on a bunt to the first baseman in the third. And Wumble deals. Christian still out there. First pitch, a half-swing strike. And the count 0-1. Second pitch low to Olison. There was, in the 90s, when I was growing up, a children's toy. Here's the 1-1 outside, called a strike. And it's 1-2. Called Weebles, W-E-E-B-L-S, and the slogan was "Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down," and that has been ingrained in my head since childhood. But Christian Womble's name has had that little commercial ditty from the '90s stuck in my head the whole night.
That is outstanding. That's kind of just part of being a kid, though. You have those like old commercials and old jingles, especially back in the day when that was so huge, stuck in your head. Whether it's whatever, Bop It when I was a kid, or Fushigi, or some of those really dumb products that we just ate up as kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good pull.
I remember owning some of those things.
You had to when you were a kid. You weren't cool unless you owned one of those things. It's absolutely right.
Now we see Olison going over to talk to Carballo at third. We've seen Moya now go over there twice, and now Olison once. I think maybe Moya got hit on the hand on one of his swings earlier in the game, and it's been kind of bothering him, but I'm not sure why Colton Olison would go there. And he goes down swinging for his second strikeout of the game, and here comes Jeremy Garcia, who struck out twice, once in the second and once in the fourth. The Wildcats scored 4 runs in the bottom of the first. We kind of thought maybe this would be a quick game, but Christian Wobble has really settled down, and he gets a swinging bunt strike against Jeremy Garcia 0-1. The Wildcats have not had a hit since they got 4 in the first inning. Big cut and miss.
Womble threw pitch 116 right there.
And he hasn't looked like he's lost anything, even though he is up there in triple digits. They finally have somebody working down in the Jackson State bullpen. Doesn't stop Womble from getting another strikeout as Jeremy strikes out for the third time. Luis Tuero will now bat with 2 down. Tuero singled in the first, struck out in the second, flied out to left in the fourth. Another one of those nice catches for Bannon. I don't think he's made any easy plays out there in left field tonight. First pitch upstairs and away. Looks like either Jesse Caver, Guy Colby, or Austin Campbell is in the bullpen for Jackson State. Nope, it was none of those people. It is Brandon Haston. We may see him for Jackson State, or we may just see Womble continue if he keeps mowing Wildcats down here. Inside, strike called, 2-2 on Tuero. And I will say that Lance Barnes has had a little bit of a wide strike zone tonight on both outside and inside edge. Tuero off the end of the bat, foul into the Tomoka River. And that has helped both of these pitching staffs rack up the strikeout numbers. It's a 2-2. And it's inside for ball 3. Count runs full on Tuero. Wildcats looking for something with 2 outs, and that looked painful as Tuero chops it right off his ankle. Brandon Haston is down to the bullpen for Jackson State as a sophomore from Dallas, Georgia. And and a Division I transfer from Georgia State, so he'll be going back and playing in Atlanta for the first time since he was at Georgia State at the SWAC tournament. Of course, Jackson State locked into that 4 seed in the East. They'll play the 1 seed from the West, which will be Grambling State. They're locked into that. After an extended break for Luis Tuero, he got checked out by the trainer. He walked around a little bit. His ankle is all right. We can get back to it. It's a full count with 2 outs here in the 7th. And a breaking ball swing and miss. And Womble has struck out the side in the 7th as we go to the 8th. Still 4-0 Wildcats. Neither team got any offense here at the Jack tonight. You're listening to the Cat Eye Network. Top of the order for Jackson State coming up. We start with Jatavius Melton here in the 7th. Dale Machad back on the hill for BCU. Catches the outside corner with a fastball 0-1. Melton grounded to third in the first, struck out in the third, popped out to center in the 5th. And another strike in the exact same spot means Melton's down 0-2. At the end of the 7th inning, both of these teams have combined for 24 strikeouts in the game. Breaking ball misses way outside 1-2. Bethune-Cookman has 13, 11 for Santos, and 2 for Machad, and then 11 on the day for Womble. Machad deals the 1-2. Breaking ball, big cut and miss as that one was in the opposite batter's box, and Melton is down on strikes. 3 straight strikeouts for Machad now across the inning break.
That breaking ball for Machad is really doing some work for him tonight. Kind of dipping out of the zone for right-handed batters, and they are falling for it just about every time.
Here is Daniel Bannon. Struck out in the 1st and 3rd, and then grounded to short in the 6th. Chopped it right back to Machad. It goes off of his forearm. Tough play for Olesen, and he's safe. Olesen got the ball over to Sofrain in time, but it was just a half step late. And Daniel Bannon is on with an infield single. Nothing against the tremendous effort from Colton Olesen and Manny Sofrain there. That's just really great speed from Daniel Bannon, who's been the standout player for Jackson State tonight.
Of course, that's kind of one of those bad luck plays there from Machad, who maybe if he didn't try to knock it down, it may end up in the glove of Colton Olesen, but that's the way it goes.
1 on, 1 out. Here's Ty Hill, hit by a pitch in the 1st and struck out in the 3rd and 6th. This is his first time facing a batter that is not Nolan Santos, and nobody paying attention, so Bannon will walk to second base for the steal.
It may have been a balk call potentially. I don't think he just took off because there was no reaction.
Yeah, and it was a balk because the count is 1-0, and that was clearly a swing and a miss from Hill. So now the first pitch is outside, and the count now is 1-0. You talked about this in the A&M series. Here's the 1-0, inside 2-0. You talked about this in the A&M series about how you kind of wish that the umpires had a hand signal for balk or for pitch clock violations, just so we could know without being on the field, what the call is.
We just saw one there from the official out at second base to signal the mound meeting, but especially I think when we talk about the pitch clock, it's just a lot of times, especially up here, we can't hear what the official's saying. I don't feel like a lot of times they've been open in saying it, but we just get a hand raise or something very generic, and so you can't tell the difference between if it's a balk, if it's a whatever, maybe catcher's interference, anything else. I'm not sure if at any other level of baseball if they have signals like that, but for us up here without, the standard comms and stuff you may see at some higher up, whether it be in college or in the pros, we kind of lack that knowledge. So there's been a lot of confusion, I think, especially in the pitch clock. What's the call here? What's going on? So, yeah, Mike, you're absolutely right. I think we could do well for some of that, maybe going into next season.
Of course, next year we'll have the physical pitch clock in use here at the Jack, as all NCAA facilities that can implement the technology must. Ball misses low, and it's 3-0 now on Ty Hill.
That pitch clock is out there physically again in the outfield after a hiatus for spring training when it took a break down to Port St. Lucie.
Here's the 3-0 from Mashad. There's a strike inside corner, 3-1. And maybe you think that balk might have gotten in Dale's head because it was a really good pitch that got Ty Hill swinging. Now he's working from way behind in the count. The 3-1, cut on and miss, 3-2. Hill with a runner on second and 1 out. Here in the 8th, Jackson State down 4-0. Here's the 3-2. Strike 3, got him looking on the inside corner. Hill not happy, but Dale Mashad will take it. What a gutsy AB from the BCU pitcher.
Dale Mashad continuing to just haunt the outer edge of the plate for these batters. That one, not his standard sweeping breaking ball, but got him looking and just picking that outside edge, that outside corner, and Jackson State can't have any of it.
Here is Brett Mersman, struck out in the 1st and 4th, and then was the first of 2 singles in the 6th that eventually led to the end of Nolan Santos' evening. This is the first time he faces Dale Mashad with a runner on second and now 2 down. Scoreboard says 1 down, but there is definitely 2 away as Jatavius Melton struck out to lead off the inning. Then the single by Bannon and then another strikeout on Hill.
Elsewhere around the SWAC tonight.
Yeah, go for it.
Got Mississippi Valley State is at Alabama A&M. They lead that one 5-3. Or excuse me, that one's gone final 5-3. Another one that's finals. Grambling State takes Prairie View A&M on the road. 6-3 is your final there. And then finally, Alcorn State comes up on top of Texas Southern 5-4. Another road win for the Braves.
That's a huge result in the West because that means that if Southern wins tonight, they're playing Arkansas Pine Bluff, so they are heavily favored in that game. They would leap Texas Southern and take over second spot. Hit high in the air to left field and deep. Pena tracking it back near the track makes the catch to end the inning. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Still 4-0 BCU right here on the Cat Eye Network. We go to the bottom of the 8th, and finally, there is a new pitcher on the hill for Jackson State. Welcome Brandon Haston to the mound. Garrett Chun will lead off the inning and be the first to face the new JSU pitcher. Chun walked and scored in the first, walked and was stranded in the second, then struck out in the 5th. Haston, a left-hander, and he deals first pitch upstairs, ball 1. Haston's numbers are as follows. He's 1-1 with an 8.82 ERA. He's got 19 appearances with 3 starts. And the pitch back up the middle. Bounced and grabbed by Gomez. Long throw across his body, and it's out of the glove of Mersman. And to the JSU dugout, moving to second off the error, is Garrett Chun. And we'll give that a 2-base error, as Gomez takes the first mistake of the game by either team. And it's a big one as Chun, is aboard to lead off the inning.
Credit Garrett Chun right there. Absolutely flew from first to second. I don't know if I've seen him move that fast all season. He got down there. Very easily could have been a play over there at second if he lollygags it over there, but he zoomed over there.
Nice job by Gomez at short, even though he made the throwing error, to actually come up with that ball, because it was hit very hard right back up the middle. Here's Highland Hall. Hall gets all of this one. That's going to land on the moon, but well fouled.
I don't know if we've seen a ball hit that high here. That one would have cleared all of these light posts out here. That one was skied.
Rest of the numbers for Haston. It's a dive back into second by Chun. In 33 2/3 innings pitched, he's given up 36 runs on 42 hits, 33 earned, with 39 strikeouts and 18 walks.
We have Womble's final line on the night. He went 7 innings, allowed 4 runs, all earned on 4 hits, walked 4, struck out 11 through 125 pitches. But what a night after that first inning for Womble.
So if take out the first inning, Hall chops it foul, 0-2. Take out that first inning, and Womble had a no-hitter and only allowed 3 base runners.
Certainly, if not the best, one of the best starting performances we've seen from an opposing team at the Jack this year.
Hall behind 0-2. Here's the pitch. Upstairs, gets by the catcher, Louise. Garrett Chun rounds third. Almost looked like he wanted to fly home from second. Thinks better of it and takes back to the bag. He'll go there on a wild pitch. So currently an unearned run sitting at third after the error in the wild pitch. But it doesn't matter how it happens or what the stat looks like. The only stat the Wildcats care about is putting another run on the board. Highland now on a 1-2 count, facing Haston. And the lefty deals, and it's hammered to right field. That's a base hit and an RBI single. Oh, excuse me, it might be a double. Here goes Highland Hall flying around the bases and sliding face first into second base.
Gotta love the excuse me call, but I think everybody here probably thought that one was a single. It's just kind of your routine through the right side of the infield out into right over there, but Highland Hall takes advantage. I think he was going second all the way off the bat. I guess it gave him just enough time with the pace with that ball. Wouldn't hit too hard to where got to the outfielder too quickly, and you look up and Highland Hall's at second.
Either way, it's a double and an RBI for Hall. And it is finally 5-0 BCU after 6 scoreless innings and no hits. They've gotten 2 in a row to lead off the 8th, and we've seen this so many times this year, not just with Bethune-Cookman, but with every team in this WAC. You chase the starter, and then the bullpen is a little shaky, and teams can either finish a blowout or come back and win games, and the Wildcats have taken full advantage of teams' bullpens to steal some games this year.
And, Mike, that's why we talk about how critical a guy like Dale Machad is and can be for the Wildcats. That's a weapon that a lot of guys don't have. A lot of teams in the SWAC hardly have a closer, let alone a setup guy behind him. So if you get 1 or 2 arms there, you're a different team.
Boris Pena fouls one off. He's ahead of the count 2-1. Pena singled, ribbied Luis Chuero home in the first, popped out to short in the third, struck out in the 5th. And he's got Highland Hall on second. That one low and inside, 3-1. And Highland Hall with a good enough jump, he could probably get home from pretty much anywhere if it's a single in the ballpark.
talk about the athletes on this Wildcats team, whether it's him or Malik Stevens or even guys like Robert Moya, who can really just give you a lot.
Pena hits this one high and deep to left center field. Going back, Melton to the track. He makes the catch, leaping over his head to deny at least a double, maybe more, from Luis Pena. Another fantastic defensive play from Jackson State.
That's just the black hole that can be the outfield here at the Jack. Just so much space out there, and I'm sure in another park across the SWAC, I don't have any specific outfield wall numbers for you, but that no doubt would have been gone elsewhere in this conference. Boris Pena got every bit of it, comes up with nothing.
I mean, I could tell you right now, there's another park in this county that would have been gone in. Melching Field, they brought the fences in when they redid the ballpark. Dead center's now 389 over at Stetson.
That was a pitcher's paradise for a long time.
Here's Robert Moya, who looked at Boris Pena and says, hey, maybe I can go a few feet better. Takes a big hack and fouls one off. Moya doubled and had 2 RBIs in the first and then struck out in the third and sixth. He's behind in the count 0-1 with Highland Hall still on second, 1 man out in the 8th. Fastball catches the inside part of the plate, and it's 0-2. Haston spent 2 seasons at Georgia State. 3-1 record over the last 2 seasons in 21 appearances, all out of the bullpen. Big swing and miss from Moya. And he is down on strikes for the 3rd time tonight.
There's no guy on this team that takes bigger hacks than Robert Moya, but when he makes contact, look out.
Here's Manny Safrain, singled home Moya in the first, and then is flied out to left field twice, and both tremendous catches from Daniel Ben in the left field. Safrain, in a different universe, could be 3 for 3 with 3 hits tonight.
Yeah, it's hard to take a ton away from his night. I mean, he got the start going for the Wildcats in that first inning and just plain out got robbed.
Especially the one down the left field line when Bannon reached behind his head while he was sitting on the ground to make the catch. This time he chopped it to the right-hand side. Long run for White at second, who throws across his body and makes another terrific defensive play to rob Sufrain of another hit. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 left. And we head to the bottom of the 8th. Wildcats have increased their lead. It's 5-0 VCU right here on the Cat Eye Network. Gale Mashad still on the hill as we head to the 9th inning. 3 outs away from a BCU win as the Wildcats added an insurance run in the bottom of the 8th. First pitch from Mashad to Miles White is outside in the opposite batter's box to the lefty 1-0. White struck out in the second, struck out in the fourth, singled in the sixth. That was the final hit given up by Nolan Santos as he struck out Marcus Atterbury to end the inning. Keep the Tigers off the board. There's another strike, and it's 1-2. Mashad working quickly, wants to get on out of here.
See the closer, Yohan Gonzalez, poking around a little bit out there, but don't want to keep him off the field if possible.
Especially potentially in a non-save situation. We were talking during the break, and you said that Yohan may only pitch one appearance this weekend. Hammered out towards second, but Colton Olson, Johnny on the spot again, makes the play, 1 down. That ball was hit hard, but straight at Olson.
Olson's leadership will no doubt be put big time on display come tournament time. He's the heart and soul of this team and has been all season.
Here's Marcus Atterbury, struck out in the third and sixth. Sandwich between that, he popped out to Olson behind second base. First pitch, a strike, fastball to Atterbury. That time a pitch low, and it's 1-1. So no save on for Mashad because the Wildcats have scored that 5th run. Now, he would not improve his record, currently standing at 3-1, but he would get the hold.
The ever important hold.
The 2-1, chop foul, and it's 2-2.
When's the last time we've heard anybody ever bring up a hold as a serious pitching stat, maybe in the major leagues? It's just one of those things that's just so forgotten.
It's not talked about, but on nights like tonight, you have to talk about it.
I guess it's kind of just one of those metrics that it's like, yeah, you're a reliever. You probably should get a hold.
That one is lined to left field. There's a base hit for Atterbury, his first on-base appearance of the night. Hit number 5 on the night for JSU. And now it'll bring up Marshall Louise with 1 gone in the 9th. And a runner on first, chance for a game-ending double play here.
And this weekend, Mike, on the mound is going to be interesting. I think we'll likely see Daniel Gaviria tomorrow. We don't know that for sure yet. But we did see Gaviria last Saturday. But then Sunday, depending on where you find yourself in the standings, it may be just kind of a bullpen day, a lot of arms, or maybe don't get a chance to throw all the time. Kind of your classic end of the season, rest some guys, just get in and get out.
Of course, we'll see the seniors in the lineup, so it'll be heavily changed from what we are used to. Fastball misses outside, 1-0 to Marshall Louise. Had the first hit of the game for Jackson State in the second, little bloop single down the left field line. Then grounded out to the pitcher and fly to center in his next 2 plate appearances.
Then, of course, looking at tomorrow night, you wonder out of the bullpen who we might see with Mashad's weekend probably done, especially with the tournament coming up pretty quickly. Some guys can really establish themselves.
There's a strike, and it's 2-1. You've got guys like Pablo Torres, Santiago Gomez, and Darius Shork in there for BCU. It'll be some combination of those 3. Here's the 2-1. Check swing, no-go, 3-1.
Of course, he's still got guys like Marcos Gamboa, who really looked primed to maybe be that 3rd starter early in the season before he got a little nicked up. We've got Gabe Perez, who could very well be a big factor.
Hit in the air to shallow center. Charging is Garrett Shunn. Puts the glove up, makes the catch. And Jackson State is down to their final out. The batter will be Omar Gomez. Gomez grounded out to short in the second, walked and stole a base in the 5th, and then struck out in the 7th. And that walk back in the 5th inning was probably the beginning of the end of Nolan Santos' night. That was the at-bat where Santos was ahead 0-2, and then about 8 pitches later ended up being a full count walk. Mashad fires in for a strike count, 1-1. Gomez, another international player on this JSU roster, from Arroyo, Puerto Rico, which brings the number of Puerto Rican players in this game to 2. Big old breaking ball misses in the opposite batter's box, 2-2. Dale Machad just trying to get out of here with a win on the board for BCU. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs in the ninth. Here's the pitch. Grounded towards the shortstop hole. Tough play for Garcia, and he will have no play at first, so it's an infield single. And the Jackson State Tigers keep the game alive. They've got 2 on with 2 outs, and here's Cesar Saavedra.
Number 12, Cesar Saavedra.
Yohan Gonzalez will kind of shuffle around down there. You really want to try to keep him out of this game if possible.
Machad just 1 out away getting out of this. The 2 singles in the inning for Jackson State have made it a little bit interesting. Squaring around a bunt with 2 outs was Saavedra. A little questionable considering the game spot, but the corners are playing pretty deep behind the bags. Machad's 0-1. Breaking ball hit in the air to left center. That's going to be a tough play. Moving over is Chun, and he makes the catch face-to-face with Pena, and this one belongs to the maroon and gold. For all the defensive prowess of Jackson State in this game, it was a nice defensive play to end it for Bethune-Cookman. They win this one 5-0.
A little bit dangerous there to end this one, but another complete effort for the Wildcats here. You know, it got a little ugly in the middle innings there at the plate at the very least, but I think you give the credit there to Womble. Just an outstanding comeback from what looked a little bit rough at the start. I mean, that's, again, probably one of the best starting performances we've seen, especially if you kind of shave off that first inning. Of course, with your Wildcats, you don't shave off that first inning because that's the difference here. But we've seen, you know, a lot more success at the plate. Guys continue to hit the ball well. Of course, Nolan Santos doing what he does, and he's going to have to continue to do that next week. He's done for the regular season, and what an outstanding regular season it was. But then again, we have Dale Machad here at the end, closing the door and really looking like the Wildcats need him to look heading into the tournament. It's going to be a big one tomorrow. You could essentially lock in that number 2 spot with a win.
Final line score tonight for Jackson State: no runs, 6 hits, 1 error, left 9 on base. For the Wildcats, 5 runs, 6 hits. 4 of those runs and 5 of those hits came in the first inning. They really cooled off after that. They made no errors, another stellar defensive night for BCU, and left only 4 on base, so pretty complete effort for Bethune-Cookman, and they only need 1 win out of the final 2 games to clinch the number 2 seed in the East going in to the SWAC tournaments. So that'll do it for us here at Jackie Robinson Ballpark. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m., the scheduled start time. We'll be here for it. Bryce and I will be here talking you through it as the Jackson State Tigers continue their series against the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. For Bryce and myself and our entire team here at Jackie Robinson Ballpark, have a very good evening, and hail Wildcats.